garage and we're going to work on some of my old fishing rods. Because next weekend I'm on holidays, and I thought, you know what, this year I'm going to get out and do quite a bit of fishing on holidays. You know what, when you're at the homestead, it is hard to actually get away, because this spring I had full intentions of getting out there and doing some fishing in the morning, and life gets in the way. You know, I've got so much stuff to do here, I just don't have time, and it just never worked out. So I kind of regret that, but next weekend we're going to Halliburton Lake. Halliburton Lake is a beautiful lake up in Canada. It's southwest of Algonquin Park, and I mean, they have lake trout and everything. I won't be going for lake trout, but they have smallmouth bass and pike and stuff like that. So I thought, you know what? So that is the week I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to just do a little bit of fishing. So I thought, you know, I'm going to get some of my old fishing rods up and going, and we're going to use some of the old fishing rods, because you know what? I get more joy using some of these old fishing rods than I actually do getting some of that new stuff. So in the spring, I bought a bunch of spin casts, fishing rods, and you know, when I do things, I end up buying old antique fishing stuff over the time. So I've collected a few of them now. So I picked two of them that I'm going to use this weekend. They need a little bit of work, like when you spin them, they're kind of growly. They need new grease packed in them, and the eyelid on this one must have let go, the thread let go, so we're going to try to fix this. I want to warn you guys, I am not a rod builder, and I'm not like a professional at doing fishing reels and stuff like that, but I'm going to show you the redneck cheap homesteading edition of rod repair here. So basically that means going to the dollar store and getting whatever you can and then fixing the fishing rods. So that's what we're going to do this morning. We're going to get the fishing rods up and running.
So last weekend I found a Gold Series Zebco 6040. It was their higher end series, really nice fishing rod, all cast aluminum or zinc or whatever they call it. And it's got a steel spool. It's just a nice fishing rod on a Fenwick rod. And the Fenwick rod, they make great rods. This one here, FS70, it's a 7-footer. And 4 to 10 pound line is what is supposed to be on it. I don't know, I think I might go a little bit heavier than that on there. You know, at one point someone spent a lot of money to go buy these fishing reels, and someone sells it at a garage sale for $2. And it is truly amazing that people so quickly throw stuff out, because there's value here, and there's actually more value than what you get today, and you're going to spend minimum $50 to buy a new reel. This was $2, way better. So I'm just going to start pulling it apart. We'll take the nut off. Whatever you do, don't lose these things. See, that's pretty amazing. Cast aluminum spool. That is just awesome. I'm thinking these were made in the 70s. Okay, so look at that. That's not going to help. There's some line caught behind, so we'll remove that. This one here has a, you can put the handle to the left or to the right. I'm right-handed, so we're going to put it back the other way. My intention is actually to use these reels for years, so we might as well throw some new grease in them. You know what? I probably could have used them the way they were. They definitely felt a little bit stiff, and a lot of the times the grease gets really hard in them. And they just need to be cleaned out
and throw some grease in there, and they're good for years to come. I don't intend on going to buy a bunch of new fishing equipment. Number one, I don't have a ton of time. And I don't think we're going to have a ton of money in the future to buy stuff to replace stuff that we already have. Just the way I think our economy is going. So there we go. We're going to lift this off. Okay, we're going to put this stuff back on the cover so I kind of have a rough idea how it goes. Okay, so there really isn't much grease in here. And the grease that is there is pretty hard. Normally that's what starts sticking even around all these mechanisms. So we're going to clean that up. We're going to put her all back together, and then hopefully this thing will spin really easy. This turns nice. I think the combination of the line under the end and the grease, it's definitely going to work a little bit better. So I'm going to clean that out. There we go. That spins really, really good. I think part of the reason why it was hard to turn was the grease that gets hard on this shaft here, because it's hard to actually slide through. I'm going to remove the nut. We're going to look what's in there. Loosen off that nut. And give it a pull. Look at that, it actually has a little ball bearing and a snap ring. That is absolutely awesome. You know what? A lot of fishing rods today don't even have bearings in them anymore, so it's kind of cool to see how they used to build them. Everything is built to last. It is super. It's kind of sad to see how far we've gone. There's no reason they can't build them like that anymore, but they choose not to. They put plastic gears in and don't put bearings and all that, just so you have to go back and buy a new one every couple years. And really, I looked in Canadian Tire, I looked at the price of the reels, and you really don't get anything of any quality at all for less than $50. It's probably $100. Something this quality is probably $100. So you look at that and go, man, if we are replacing all the stuff we own just to go fishing for a week, it's really not worth it. Well, someone spent good money to buy this reel originally, and you know what? This thing can go for years and years to come. We don't have to go out and spend $100 here or $100 there. I'm only going fishing for this week, and you know what? I probably won't have time to fish in the fall here. So, you know, it's definitely not worth going out and buying a bunch of stuff just to go for a week. But you know what? There's no reason this can't last for years and years. So we're going to clean up all these parts, and we're going to grease it up, put it all back together, and then just see how it works. But man, I am pretty impressed about how these old Daiwas were put together anyways. They were definitely built solid. So let's clean up the parts. I'm going to use a little bit of carb cleaner to clean up the parts. The grease just gets really sticky after a little while, and it doesn't slip very well. So whenever you get these old reels, they seem stiff to push and turn, but really the issue is the grease got thick in them. And when they were new, they really didn't act that way.
Gonna clean up the
So back in the day, you could go to Canadian Tire or any other place like that and buy grease for your rods. They don't sell it anymore because people just throw their rods and reels out. But I've used for years is petroleum jelly. It probably isn't the proper grease to use, but I've never had issue with it. This stuff here doesn't really get hard very easy. It lasts a long time. So it really does last, and it stays on the gears and everything. So that's what I use, petroleum jelly. So this bearing is open, so I'm going to try to shove just a little bit of grease down inside the bearing. I'm going to wipe off the excess. I don't want too much grease on there. We're going to put the spool back on. Put the nut back on. Wow, that spins really, really nice now. Okay. So you get the shaft that actually goes back and forth and moves your spool as you reel. That's how your line goes on the spool, nice and smooth. Slide that in here, and that turns nice. Okay, right here and here, it sits in the housing, and there isn't a bearing on those. So I'm going to grease them. And we are going to install this back in the housing. This part here will grease the ring. Grease right here. Put some grease on the ring. That slides in here. I don't want to go too crazy with the grease. And you can see how it turns now. That's what pushes the spool back and forth as you reel. Okay, there's two shims here we're going to put on. I'm going to put a little bit of grease right here, and we are going to shove this back together. Very nice. That turns better already. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to put the screw through this side. We'll put the wow, that's like a new reel. I remember before my dad would go out fishing for the year, he would take the reels apart, he would throw grease in them, and that's just what he did. People have got away from that because now, if you have a problem with the reel, you just buy a new one. It doesn't mean that we are going to be able to afford to buy new ones like that anymore. I'm feeling like it's going to get harder and harder
to do that in the future.
Okay, so this is my drag and my little decorative nut. That is real nice. Okay, so we got the reel done. Let's fix up the rod. I didn't want to go buy the proper wrapping thread and all this. I thought, you know what? That'd be too nice of a job. So I thought, I'm going to go to the dollar store and get a few things. I got some 2-part epoxy, some contact cement, and just some thread. I thought, you know what? If you're out fishing and you need to fix your rod or something, there's always a dollar store pretty close, it seems anyways. Dollar stores are never far away. And I kind of wanted to use just normal stuff. I didn't want to go and spend tons and tons of money to get these rods up and going. And this rod was in pretty decent shape to begin with. It's just the eyelet is solid, but the thread let go. So we're going to cut this off. So what I'm going to do is cut off the old thread. They've used some sort of wild glue on this stuff. You don't want to cut into the rod. She ain't pretty, but it got mostly off. I'm going to start wrapping there. I'm not going to take off the rest of it. I don't have the exact color, but I think I'm going to go with the black one. Man, you can't find the end of this thread. That's unreal. There we go. I'm going to get the contact cement. I'm going to glue the end on. Let that harden. We'll wait just a few minutes before I start spinning them. I'm a little impatient. So now we're going to get the 2-part epoxy. And mix it up real good. It's like 5-minute epoxy. So you have to move relatively fast. And we're just going to spread it. Okay. And it will tend to want to drip. So you're going to have to turn it at some point after you get it spread. Okay, so now I want to turn it until it gets hard. People have rod turners that it actually turns it for hours. So there you go. I got my rod fixed. I find 2-part epoxy is absolutely awesome, and that dollar store 2-part epoxy is actually really, really good. It really hardens, it works good, and I've never had an issue with it. So it's definitely worth having a bunch of that stuff around, because you know what, you can fix lots of stuff with 2-part epoxy and do a decent job too. So you know what, it might not be fixed like a rod builder would do it, but you know, you can get all the stuff you need to fix some of these old rods at the dollar store. You don't have to spend a ton of money doing it, and it gives a little bit of new life to some old rods and reels for sure. So hopefully I'll get out there and make some videos fishing. You know what, it's been very hard to get videos out regularly. It's just a busy time, and you know, I'm hoping
I'm hoping to make some fishing videos when I'm up there, but you know what? The most important thing is probably to relax with the family on your holidays. So if you see some fishing videos, I had a chance. If I didn't, you know, life got in the way. So that's about enough for today. You guys have a good one.